Prepare yourself for a talk radio experience like no other.
Strap yourselves in and hold on.
He stands for truth. He stands for justice. He stands for what's right. This is the Alex Jones Show. Call Alex now, toll free, at 877-590-5525. Now live from Austin, Texas, here's Alex Jones.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. It is Sunday, the 19th of October, 2008. We're going to be here live for the next 2 hours. We'll also have wide open phones on a host of issues at 877-590-5525. Whether you're listening on the AM and FM dial across the country, the internet at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, global shortwave satellite, you are welcome to call in at 877-590-5525. All right, I want to try to be calm here today and really go over what we're facing with the financial crisis and really put it in clear, uncertain, for people that are uncertain out there about what's really happening. I want to put it in very, very clear terms for people that are uncertain so that they can understand basically what we're dealing with as a society and what we're facing. Bottom line, everything that the global private banking cartel has said they would do to our society, they are now doing. A private group of families own the central banks of Europe, England, and the United States, Australia, Canada, New Zealand. And they control most of the third world and second world nations of the planet through this same system. I was on international television yesterday, Press TV, that's seen in countries all across the world, international cable system. And I was arguing and debating with two of the financial experts they had, and I would raise the news headlines that are in the BBC and the Wall Street Journal and the French news agency and just hundreds of publications showing video clips and reporting on what the heads of the private central banks of the world are doing through the heads of the different government systems, the different treasury directors, and different finance chiefs of the nations, France, Germany, England, the United States, Russia, Japan, China. And they are saying we are setting up a world government run by the private banks, a small intergroup of private banks worldwide, and we are going to set up a world currency, but that world currency will still be your national currency. It will just be pegged to and its value and the amount of money in circulation will be set worldwide. So it'll still have the local look, but it really won't be a local or national or sovereign currency. And an example of that is a major newspaper like the Wall Street Journal. It gets printed all over the country to come to your door every morning. But it's a national/international newspaper, but it gets printed in your state generally or in your region because there's no way to print them all in New York City and then have them all thrown on your doormat. Or what is there, like 20 different brands or varieties of Sports Illustrated. You have regional Sports Illustrated publications for football and other things, but still it's Sports Illustrated. Okay, so for over a decade, I have told you that what we were going to end up having would be a world banking system controlling our currency and controlling our national laws on finance, on banking, on the stock market, and that they would do this by orchestrating a global financial meltdown, which they, again, are carrying out, they are orchestrating, and that they would then pose as the saviors and try to stampede governments and populations into accepting this. And I also told you that a new global tax was going to be set up, several new global taxes, a cap and trade tax on, quote, greenhouse emissions, carbon dioxide and others, a flat-out carbon tax, and also the Tobin tax on any wire transfers or any type of banking activity, basically. And that will all be paid in to the private central bank consortium. Now, this was in Trilateral Commission documents, Council on Foreign Relations documents, Treasury Department documents in the United States going back 25, 30 years, same thing in Europe and England. And I would come on air and warn you about this and say this was coming in the future, that they would destroy the dollar, that they would set up a North American currencies, a Asian currency, a African currency, a European Union currency, a system to be integrated in to control populations. Because if you control the issuance and the amount of currency, the amount of liquidity, the amount of credit, you control the planet. This is a financial dictatorship. Now, it wasn't that I was a genius or I was even smart. I, decades ago, ran into this information, and now for 13 years on air, I've been warning people that this was coming. This was coming around 2007 to 2009. And we've been predicting it, making films about it, having hundreds of top guests on about it, laying out a fact. And there I am, debating on Press TV, and I debate people on Russia Today and Al Jazeera and BBC. I go on a lot of these programs, TV worldwide, radio worldwide. And every time I'm on the show, it doesn't matter if it's Al Jazeera, it doesn't matter if it's Press TV, it doesn't matter what it is, it doesn't matter if it's BBC. They will have major financial publication writers come on against me and say, you're crazy, there's no such thing as a new world order, there's no such thing as a call for a global currency, there is no such thing as a plan for a trilateral currency. And I've always told you, because the Trilateral Commission was set up to do this, that they would have the Asian block of currencies, the European Union block of currencies, and the North American Union block of currencies, and then all sub-currencies in those sub-regions, like the Caribbean and Central and South America, in the North American Union, which is the heart of it, and with Europe, you will have Africa and the Mediterranean Union under its control, and then with the Asian currency out of Japan and China, they're jockeying for who will control that. All your sub-countries under that, including Australia, will be under that currency. Now, all I'm doing is reading to you what the global banking elites say they are going to do. And I get nothing but denials. I have the Washington Post. I have the Associated Press. This is just Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I have a whole host of other mainstream news articles with headlines like EU leaders call for global currency. Here's Bloomberg today. This is Bloomberg today. Okay, you can't ignore this anymore, folks. This isn't a Jedi mind trick or a parlor magician trick the media is pulling, with one hand saying none of this exists while they're setting it up. Now, this is Bloomberg Financial. We have a link up on Infowars.com. ECB's sees global tripolar currency system evolving. European Central Bank Council member Edwald Nonti said a tripolar global currency system is developing between Asia, Europe, and the U.S. And then they go on in a lengthy article to detail everything we've told you, everything we've broken down, everything we've predicted. But it isn't hard to predict. You know, I use the analogy or the example of the TV guide. If I open the TV guide up and I say, coming up this Wednesday night is a TV show I want to see, and then my wife and I sit down at 9 o'clock at night and turn the television on, and it comes on, my wife doesn't fall down at my feet and start worshiping me, saying, "You're psychic. How did you know? How did you know this was going to come on then?" Well, it's in the TV guide. So see, before this was being introduced to the public, in the Wall Street Journal, in Bloomberg, in AP, in AFP, hundreds of publications. Before it was in the news, as it's been the last 3 weeks, it was never in the news. It was only in IMF, World Bank, United Nations, Club of Rome, Trilateral Commission, press releases, documents, white papers. Now, you'd have to go to the library back in the mid-'90s when I was really waking up to all this and, pull out their documents, and I'd come and warn people on air and get laughed at. But now it's mainstream news. So we're going to break down the fact that world government is being born right now. It's very, very tyrannical, and it plans to devalue the world's currencies in unison down to almost zero to bankrupt everyone but the inner core financial system, which will then put everyone back into debt under their system and rebuild it. Okay, so this is the most important information you will ever hear when we get back. I'm not kidding. Stay with us.